Welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and professional witch, and today I'm talking about the goddess Isis. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it for free is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. If you love the podcast and want to support it further, you can join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. Benefits include getting an individual card pulled for you once a month live on the podcast, or if you'd like to support the podcast even further, you can get a one-time individual 5-card reading in addition to all the other benefits if you join the Witch Bitch level on the Patreon. I recently recorded an hour-long video episode for the new moon in Libra that we welcomed in on September 22nd, 2025. If you missed the live, you can check out the new moon in Libra collective tarot reading replay now to get all the latest info. I will be speaking at the Queer Joy Summit 2025, hosted by Colette Dalton this week. The summit is a week long from October 13th through the 19th, completely free and online, and is all about centering queer joy as survival, resistance, and connection. I'll be talking all about queering the tarot, alongside an incredible lineup of queer artists, healers, rebels, and dreamers. The event is free to attend and you can sign up. I have the link in the show notes. I'd love for you to join me and the rest of this beautiful queer community. And it will have already passed at this point now, but I had a live session called a Mystic Hangout with me and another one of the other presenters, Emily Holding, another witchy tarot person. And I did a collective tarot reading, and Emily went on and did some individual readings. So if you want to check that out as well, go ahead and sign up for the Queer Joy Summit and you'll get access to check out those recordings. I was recently on Kayla Moore's Connected Pleasure podcast. You can check out my episode of Kayla's podcast where we talked all about living by the body, dreaming of land, and weaving the future. You'll hear about it in the episode, but Kayla and I were actually introduced by a colleague because we are both witchy, and Kayla's a certified sex therapist. I'm in my sex therapy training. And we were matched well together. And I actually got to meet them in person at one of their sacred singing circles that they hold. As someone who grew up singing in choir, it was really fun to get to be in that space with her and her colleague and connect by singing in such like an empowering, connected, and ritualistic way in her space in Gig Harbor, which was lovely. It was like a very nice summer day when we did that. So I have the link to Kayla's offer page in the show notes. You can check out the podcast, see what kind of coaching or one-on-one offers she has, and then any other events if you're local to our area. If you want to work with me more directly and don't live local, I am offering a Tarot for Transformation live course that's kicking off January 2026. We're going to be deep diving the first 12 of the major arcana cards all together as we embody archetypes and learn how to transform ourselves through the tarot. And I will be truly deep diving, probably doing a 2 to 3 hour workshop, course, webinar each month, and we'll be embodying each major arcana card month by month. So I extended out. We're not doing 12 weeks anymore. We're doing 12 months. And you can sign up to join for all 12 months. You can sign up for 1 month. You can sign up for 1 month and then later do another month. There'll be lots of options available to you if there's a particular card that you want to learn more about, or you're in a season of your life in that month where you are wanting to embody that archetype. That will be what we're doing. On the calls, we're going to talk about the card. I'm going to dress as the card. We're going to do some glamour magic and talk all about the archetype, how to bring that archetype into our life and embody it in the month ahead. I'll have fleshed out workbooks for every month that will kind of go all through the information about the archetype and perhaps gods associated with it or goddesses, as I'm talking about queer deities this season. different rituals or journaling practices that you can do that month. And then we'll have like this live call where we all get to like hang out, talk about it, answer any questions, maybe share about what's been going on in the month and how we want to embody the card. So I'm so excited for that. So the link to sign up for interest for that is in the show notes. I'll just be collecting people that are interested and before January, and I'll start, sending all that details out to you by email. If you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist and coach, seeing individual and relational clients virtually all over from my home office. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients, so if you'd like to work with someone that doesn't judge you, is witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now to start your journey. That's at CamilleASaunders.com. I also have some other fun offers, so maybe you've heard about it, but I like to offer workshops about creating your own tarot cards. And if you don't feel like you have any art skills, no worries. The way that I like to do it is with collage. So you're just cutting things out and pasting them on an index card. That's my fun methodology. So you don't need a lot of supplies. I literally bought all my supplies at like a dollar store. And you'll get my full workshop, which is like an hour-long recording that details my step-by-step method. I give you a ton of examples of the tarot cards I've made, images of all of those. You'll have journaling questions to kind of like pull ideas out of you or start to think about what cards you might want to create and how you're going to do that. And then a PDF to walk you all through it if all else fails for just $33. So you'll get all of that in this bundle. And I have all of that bundled together if you want to purchase that now. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you at the beginning of this year for my lovely listeners, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. And my newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. And I send it out weekly. So you'll get kind of a weekly deep dive into what I'm up to, some photos. You'll get the episode of the day for the podcast and any upcoming events I have, anything like that. And just kind of, that's where I put all of that info if you're ever looking for a single place to find that. If you're local and want to meet me in person, you can check out my Let's Talk Tarot meetup group. Come chat with other tarot enthusiasts, bring your favorite decks, and play with tarot and oracle decks all together. And if you're interested in celebrating the full moon, I'm holding full moon women's circles for the rest of 2025. So you can join my colleague Izzy and I under the glow of the full moon for an evening of connection, reflection, and ritual. We'll be meeting at Thresholds Collective in Tacoma the first Sunday of the month to welcome in the full moon together. And the upcoming dates are November 2nd and December 7th. So we just had one for October, which was quite lovely for the harvest moon. And then we have 2 more. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, welcome to season 16, where I'm talking all about queer deities. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. And today I'm talking about the goddess Isis. So we're going to get into the mythology, the queerness, the tarot affiliations, and then we will dive in and see what the cards have to say, what message the goddess Isis has for us. So I am going to read from the Women's Encyclopedia of Myths and Secrets by Barbara G. Walker, and this is a very long entry about Isis, so we'll see if I actually read all of it. But Isis is an Egyptian god. So in Egyptian scripture, it says, "In the beginning there was Isis, oldest of the old. She was the goddess from whom all being rose. As the creatress, she gave birth to the sun when he rose upon this earth for the first time. Her title, giver of life, was applied also to the Queen Mother of Egypt. In her Roman mysteries, Isis was addressed as the one who is all. Lucius's hymn to her said, O thou, holy and eternal Savior of the human race, thou bestowest a mother's tender affections on the misfortunes of unhappy mortals. Thou dispellest the storms of life, and stretchest forth the right hand of salvation, by which thou unravelest even the inextricably tangled web of fate. Thou turnest the earth in its orb, Thou givest light to the sun, thou rulest the world, thou treadest death underfoot. To thee the stars are responsive, by thee the seasons turn, and the gods rejoice, and the elements are in subjection. I am too feeble to render thee sufficient praise, but a pious though poor worshipper, I shall essay to do all within my power. The divine countenance and most holy deity I shall guard and keep forever, hidden in the secret place of my heart. And Lucius of Patriae was the author of a lost metamorphosis, which furnished a precedent and basic material for the metamorphoses of Lucius Appius, a devotee of Isis and Platonic philosopher of the 2nd century A.D. I'm going to skip the next quote because it's quite long. But yeah, let's get into some more things. So Egyptians addressed Isis as the mistress of the gods, thou bearest the wings, thou lady of the red apparel, queen of the crows of the south and the north, only one, superior to whom the gods cannot be, thou mighty one of enchantments or words of power, thou who art preeminent, mistress and lady of the tomb, mother in the horizon of heaven. Praise be unto thee, O lady, who art mightier than the gods. Words of adoration rise unto thee from the 8 gods of Hermopolis. The living souls who are in their hidden places, praise the mystery of thee, O thou who art their mother, thou source from which they spring, who makest for them a place in the hidden underworld, who makest sound their bones and preservest them from terror, who makes them strong in the abode of everlastingness. Her name may have come from Ashis, meaning pouring out, and supporting an implication that her divine essence, blood, or milk kept the gods and all other creatures alive. So Isis was the Egyptian throne. Pharaohs sat on her lap, protected by her arms or wings. So if you've ever seen like images of that, that is Isis that gets depicted. I also have, I will post it for the episode, like an image of both the throne and of like a statue of Isis that is on in the Goddess of Love tarot deck by Gabriella Herstick. I knew that Isis was in here, and she's affiliated with the High Priestess card in this deck, so I'll get more into that. But so even the pharaohs, right, sat on her lap and were protected by her. Basically, the symbol she carried on her crown was the Muat, foundation of the throne, which also represented her alter ego, Mat, the motherhood principle called right, justice, truth, or the all-seeing eye. An Egyptian hymn was copied into the Bible. Right and justice are the foundation of thy throne, in Psalms 89:14. Hermetic texts said Isis revealed the mysteries of the stars to God, who was her son. She also provided a model for Moses' miracle of stopping the waters, which she actually did quite casually on her way to Byblos, and Joshua's miracle of stopping the sun, which she did while bringing Horus back to life. Since Horus was the sun, Ra, or Osiris, in the form of Isis' infant, an interruption of his life would naturally have caused the sun to stand still in heaven. Isis and her dark twin sister, Nephthys, were Egyptian versions of the familiar creating and destroying goddess, mother of life and crone of death. Egyptians called her by many names: Mut, Hathor, Bast, Mat, Heket, Sekhmet, Sati, Neith, etc. And some of her destructive functions were described in the Book of the Dead. The Book of the Dead is a common name for a collection of Egyptian funerary papyri written between 1500 and 1350 BC, including vignettes, hymns, chapters, and descriptive rubrics. Among the best preserved and most typical copies of the Theban recension of the Book of the Dead is the much-studied Papyrus of Ani. So that's what we're talking about here. And it says in her destructive functions: terrible one, lady of the rainstorm, destroyer of the souls of men, devourer of the bodies of men, orderer, producer, and maker of slaughter, hewer in pieces in blood, Ahabit, lady of hair, fire lover, pure one, lover of slaughterings, cutter off of heads, devoted one, lady of the great house. Her name is Clother, hidden of her creations, conqueror of hearts, swallower of them, Ninth, who cutteth when its name is uttered, slayer of those who approach thy flame. So Isis swallowed Osiris, the savior, and brought him back to life. He was reincarnated as a child Horus, or else as the Ithyphallic moon god Min or Menu. He who impregnates his mother is like the quote from it. He is annually torn to pieces and reassembled except for his lost penis. Isis made him a new penis of clay, then gave it and him new life by invoking her own holy names as life giver and death giver. And she did that, and then Osiris stood up and lived and mated with his goddess, and life went on. Osiris, Min's counterpart, Adonis, was similarly reborn from the goddess of Priapus and was similarly associated with spring floods, which is interesting. So some say the annual Nile flood was caused by a teardrop from Isis's eye as she raised her lament for the dead god. The Nile festival took place on the night of the teardrop, unwittingly preserved by Muslims as the June festival of Laylat al-Nakhta, Night of the Drop. Worshippers said to the goddess, "Thou givest life unto the flocks and herds, all the land drinks thee when thou descendest. When thou comest, the whole land rejoices. Thou art the bringer of flood, thou art the mighty one of meat and drink, thou art the creator of all good things. Thou fillest the storehouses, thou heapest high with corn the granaries, and thou hast care for the poor and needy." So Isis was also worshipped throughout the Greco-Roman world, from Alexandria to Arles, from the outskirts of the Sahara to the Isle of Britain, from the mountains of Asteras to the mouths of the Danube. Prevalence of the fairy tale, The Witch in the Stone Boat, shows how widely Isis's cult traveled, for the witch was none other than she. Each of her temples featured a carved stone moon boat containing her figure, which Christians called a witch or demoness. In pagan times, Isis's boat had its own special holiday on the 5th of March, the Navigum Isidis, blessing of the vessel of Isis. Isis's cult came to Rome around 80 BC, attaining great popularity in the region or in the reign of Vespasian, and flourished throughout the empire until it was ousted by Christianity 4 centuries later. The goddess herself was not so much ousted as absorbed. Her identification with the Virgin Mary was part of the syncretic development of the Madonna cult. Some early Christians in Rome called themselves pastophori, a title of shepherds or servants of Isis, which evolved into pastors. Oh, very interesting. Let's see here. What else do I want to share? There's an Egyptian amulet in the British Museum that shows the goddess seated under a holy tree, giving birth to her divine child and holding the ankh in one hand. On the reverse is another ankh and the legend, "One God in Heaven." Some suggest that the picture might represent the birth of Buddha, but it is usually interpreted as the birth of Christ, though its original was certainly a picture of Isis. So that is the mythology around Isis. Let's see here. I guess I'll keep the Goddess of Love tarot part or for when we get into the tarot. So let's talk about the queerness associated with Isis, right? So I read this really long thing. None of it talks about any of the mythology around the queerness of Isis, but she's the sort of like all mother. You know, last time I talked about Zeus as being like an all father. She is an all mother. So for the Egyptian goddess Isis, again, like she was popularly worshipped as her role as a maternal goddess, protector of children. She was seen as the carer for the members of society who were unique or downtrodden. And she was very commonly worshipped by Egyptian priests. Some say, like, especially by those who experienced same-sex attraction. She was also, other than being a protector, she was also known for her strong magics and gender affirmation powers, as stated in the tale documented at Isiopolis. So in the text, Isis appeared in the dreams to a pregnant Telethusa to calm her fears about delivering a girl. So her husband So this is Telethusa. Telethusa's husband wanted a boy. Isis, kind of in Telethusa's dreams, tells the mother to carry the child, kind of no matter what. And she tells Iphis to term and raise the newborn girl as a boy. So when Iphis comes of age, he is called to Isis and wished for her to change his body to male so that he could be how he felt inside, a wish that Isis granted. So queerness and Egyptian gods can often go hand in hand and are not limited to just kind of the magical powers of the goddess Isis. There are also different things with Set and Horus. Let's see what else. So I pulled that information from the Torquay Museum website, talking about the amulet, including the Egyptian goddess Isis. I'm trying to figure out where this museum is. It's in England. Okay. All right. So yeah, Isis was, a goddess worshipped by both the Egyptians and the Mediterranean neighbors in Greece. Again, she kind of was like cared for the society's downtrodden. And she has this sort of like gender affirming, granting powers that she uses here. On the dreamingpriestess.wordpress.com blog about the goddess major arcana, Isis, or magic. So we'll get into a bit more of the tarot aspect. So when we think about the magician, right? An iconic card in tarot, perhaps only second to like death or the tower. The card is pure power, right? The magician is power. Potential is the second step on the road to enlightenment, and to call or acknowledge our own power and self-sufficiency, our ability to bend and shape reality. So the magician is usually the first card you can look at in a new deck, right? It goes like the Fool and then the Magician. And I was looking up kind of what cards Isis might be affiliated with. And in the Goddess Tarot by Chris Waldher, the deck that this person writing the blog reads frequently, the magician is represented as like pure magic, who is represented by Isis. So in classic tarot, the magician is like a message to stand in your personal power, to draw out your own abundant resources, to catalyze transformations. And magic and Isis goes further by asking us to be aware, perhaps for the first time, of the magic inherent in the world around us. So Isis was like, right, the queen of the Egyptian pantheon. There are many powerful goddesses in that pantheon. Isis reigns supreme. Isis is the goddess of life and death, even conquering death to conceive. Horus, the patron of medicine and healing, as well as magic and spirituality. So as such, she holds this like pure potential of the universe within her, right? Again, like creator and destroyer, like we might talk about Kali or maybe that's kind of the only other one I can think of right now that kind of goes within that. And so in this way, Isis, right, as the magician or as like pure magic, reminds us we have the ability to be our own like sovereign. She has the pure potential of the universe within her. She rules supreme over herself and all that she surveys. So we all possess, right, the power and magic we need to affect change, and this card kind of like reminds us of that. And when Isis or that magic or the magician shows up in a reading, she reminds us to own our power and to step into our authority. Isis reminds us that we are magic, that we have the right to be seen and treated as the holy mystery that we are. When we are aware of how full we are of magic, of the magic we bring to the world, we are able to act on the highest level and with the most self-regard and respect to ourselves and others. And this is truly a catalyst for the changes we seek. So I love that reading of kind of the magician card there. So the other card that I definitely thought of was the High Priestess, like I said before. So in the Goddess of Love tarot deck by Gabriella Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu, in the High Priestess card, it is depicted, Isis is depicted. So I'm going to read from the tarot guidebook on Isis for this as well. So again, the High Priestess, the goddess associated with is Isis. The planetary correspondence is the moon. So I guess we could also speak about the moon card for Isis. So the High Priestess is the guiding force of tarot. and unlocking the secrets to the heart, to the sensual, to the realm of the feminine divine. She is Isis, the most revered goddess of ancient Egypt, who used magic to bring her husband Osiris back from the dead, making love to him to usher in a new eon of peace and prosperity through the birth of their magical child Horus. So Isis is a prismatic goddess ruling over necromancy as well as love, family, the earth, and magic. Her multifaceted nature reflects the shadowy and light side of the moon. The High Priestess and Isis share the initiatory knowledge of sex magic and how it can usher you into new ways of being, into new dimensions, into new selves, tracing the lineage of the ancient temple priestesses who worked with sexual ritual to channel the goddess. Listen to your intuition and value stillness before action. The High Priestess is a mirror to your magic, an inner knowing. She parts the veil to the occult mysteries and is sharing this with you now. When this card is reversed, it's time for passionate decision making. Passivity is not working, and you need directed focus to find whatever answer it is you are seeking. So the affirmation is, I am a priestess of the sexual mysteries. I am a priestess of the goddess of sex and love. And the journal question is, what magic is the High Priestess guiding me towards? So again, like I said, this deck depicts Isis as the High Priestess, again, as that sort of like, for this deck, guiding the goddess of love here, but also, right, we read about it as the magician, as pure magic. I think also because of that, like, sort of multifaceted nature, like she could also be associated with the moon card. Let's see here if there's anything else that I wanted to add. Yeah, I guess just with like the mythology earlier around Telethusa, and like her husband tells her to kill the child if it's not a girl. Like she continues to have the child, raises the baby, and names him Iphis. Iphis grows, falls deeply in love with another woman named Ianthe, and as their wedding day approaches, Iphis despairs they can never truly be together. And in an act of desperation, Telethusa prays to Isis for help, and in response, Isis transforms Iphis into a man, allowing the couple to marry. So this is sort of why the goddess is sort of seen as like a compassionate, like helpful goddess for transgender people as well, in addition to sort of, yeah, like honoring this relationship. And Isis uses her magic to help, right, a devotee align their internal identity with their external body. And the story shows kind of her empathy for those facing any gender, sexuality related crises or challenges, right, that maybe society sees as a certain way. All right, so let's go ahead and pull a card to see what message Isis has for us. I think I'm going to pull from the Goddess of Love deck because that feels appropriate. So I will mix the High Priestess card back in, and we shall see what message we get. What message, Isis, do you want to share with us? What do we need to hear? What other things from your story can help us on our journey? Okay. All right, I pulled the Maiden of Swords in reverse. So, let me find my guidebook here. So the Maiden is equivalent to the Page of Swords, and we are reading it in reverse. So it says, if the card comes up reversed, it can indicate a sense of aloofness. Check back in with your heart and body and witness the patterns of your mind with self-compassion and accountability. So the affirmation for this card is, I am guided by love in mind and body. I open myself to all possibilities of the heart. And the journaling question is, how can I release my attachment to the outcome? How can releasing my attachment to the outcome help me find peace and presence. So, right, swords, this is sort of the power of the mind, right? Perhaps anxiety when when our mind takes us too far. And this is telling us, right, to actually don't just live in your mind, right? Connect in your heart and body and see kind of how they all intertwine about our self-compassion and accountability, and making sure that we're not just like trying to think our way out of problems, but actually feeling into them and thinking about how we're going to transform our point of view, and not just have our cerebral part of self guide us. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today on the Everyday Tarot podcast. Just a reminder, the podcast does come out daily, Monday through Friday for all of 2025. If you'd like to join me on the journey of using the tarot for transformation, you can click on the link in the show notes to indicate your interest, and I will send you more info. Links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks again for joining me today. You can email me, me@CamilleASaunders.com, with your thoughts, questions, and more. All right. See you soon. Bye-bye.